Okay, so let's unpack this. Today, we're diving into a source that's, well, surprisingly deep and really intimate. The book is called I Said I Fear Life Having No Meaning. You Said You Fear Little Bugs.
Hmm. Great title.
It is, isn't it? And it uses the MBCI, that's the Myers-Briggs Type Indicator, but not in the way you see on, social media. Not as just a label to stick on your profile.
Right. It's positioned as more of a psychological foundation, a
Mhm.
tool for some really profound self-understanding.
Exactly. It's about finding a blueprint.
And that's the key, isn't it? We're not just like putting ourselves in boxes. We're
Yeah.
trying to understand the shape of the box we're already in. And I think the reason this resonates so much right now is, well, it's that universal ache to be understood
Yeah.
and the incredible difficulty we have in understanding each other, or honestly, even understanding ourselves sometimes.
And the author's own story gives it so much weight. We talk about growing up as this really sensitive boy, and he was constantly being told to be strong, be a man,
Don't show vulnerability.
right? And that led to this massive emotional repression that eventually just ended in a complete breakdown. He learned the hard way that you can't fight your own nature. It's toxic.
And it has such huge professional consequences, too. It's not just an emotional thing. He mentions his own mother who went into the sciences because of this societal bias, this idea that science students are smarter.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But her real aptitude, her passion, was in the liberal arts. And she lived with that regret.
That's heartbreaking. And it's exactly what the author went through himself. He talks about trying to force himself into finance and engineering and just being repulsed by it. It wasn't until he landed in marketing that he found his groove.
Because it fit his INTP nature, abstract thinking, expression. That's where he thrived.
And that's really the mission of this deep dive for you listening. It's about taking these ideas and using them to stop that cycle of self-doubt, to stop fighting who you are and, maybe finally start realizing your genuine talents.
It's about choosing alignment over aspiration, in a way.
I like that. Alignment. So to find that alignment, we have to get into the mechanics. This is where it gets really interesting.
Yeah.
The four dimensions that sort of run the whole system.
This is the foundation for any kind of self-correction, really. And the first one is the one most people know. Introversion versus extroversion. I versus E.
But it's not about being shy or outgoing, right?
Not at all. It's purely about your energy source. The book describes the I type, the introvert, as someone who carries this internal map of reality with them at all times.
A map. Okay.
Yeah. So before they act or socialize, they have to check the external world against that internal map. They have
Yeah.
to validate it. And that
That
process,
sounds exhausting.
it is. That's why socializing can be so draining for introverts. They have to retreat to, recharge that battery. Whereas E-types, the extroverts, their focus is on the external world. They get their energy from acting and
I'm
interacting.
not checking the map. They're just driving.
Exactly. The author uses a great analogy. The extrovert is like a surfer, meeting the wave head on, energized by that immediate external challenge.
That makes so much sense. Okay, what's next? Information gathering.
Sensing, S versus intuition, N. This one is huge because it's about what kind of data you naturally trust and prioritize.
So S-types.
S-types are grounded in the here and now. Facts, sensory experience, practical application. They trust what they can see, touch, and measure. Think of a really skilled nurse who knows the exact pressure for a painless injection.
Oh, that's a good one. It's a felt sense.
It's a felt sense, perfected. Their language is precise. They're not big on abstract metaphors. It is what it is.
And the N-types are the opposite. They're the pattern seekers.
The induction artists, yeah. They're like Conan or Sherlock Holmes. They see a few small clues, and their brain just immediately leaps to the bigger picture, the underlying motive. Their strength is in connecting the dots.
But there's a catch,
A
right?
huge catch. The book is really clear on this. For an N-type's intuition to be valuable, it has to be grounded in experience and a respect for the facts.
We're
Otherwise,
just making stuff up.
you're just floating in a sea of theories. You risk becoming completely detached from reality.
Okay, so that brings us to how we make decisions and sort of live our lives. Thinking versus feeling. T versus F.
And this one is the source of so much conflict, especially in relationships.
I can imagine.
T-types, the thinkers, use rational logic as their main filter. They see a problem, they define it, they analyze it, and they find the most objectively correct solution. Truth over feelings, even their own feelings.
Which is why they can seem a little cold.
A little clinical, but it makes them incredibly effective in technical fields. Now, F-types, the feelers, they filter decisions through a totally different lens.
Values and emotions.
Personal values, emotional impact, group harmony. They excel at empathy. They're your artists, designers, creators. They can really influence how people feel. But if you put them in a job that ignores that,
It feels meaningless.
it feels meaningless, or as the book says, it lacks temperature.
I like that. Okay, last one. Judging versus perceiving. J versus P.
This is all about your preference for structure versus flexibility. J-types, judgers, have this really strong need for goals and for closure. They want things settled.
So a TJ would be driven by logic and efficiency to get to that goal.
Exactly. And an FJ would be driven by harmony and comfort. But either way, the goal is to get it done, to cross it off the list.
And P-types. They're more about the journey.
Totally. P-types, your MPs and SPs, are driven by curiosity and exploration. They prioritize the fun of knowing and experiencing things over getting to a final decision. They can give off a more, carefree vibe.
The ideas person versus the person who's living in the moment.
Perfectly put. The MP is the abstract ideas person, and the SP is the charming star, inspiring people through their immediate action and charisma.
So when you put all these dimensions together, you start to see why people can feel so misunderstood.
You do. You start to see where the friction comes from. So if we accept these preferences are real, what does it mean when your life, your job, your relationships don't honor them?
That's the perfect transition.
Yeah.
Because those differences are where so much anxiety and honestly pain comes from. The book really zooms in on the idealists.
It does. Let's take the INFJ. They often report feeling like an alien in social situations, and it's not a lack of social skill.
No, it's something deeper.
It's because they operate with this level of empathy and concern for others that most people just don't.
Yeah.
Their social battery drains so fast because they're constantly monitoring everyone, trying to make sure their own actions don't cause the slightest bit of discomfort for anyone else.
Wow. That sounds incredibly lonely.
It is. The book says they have to actively seek out same-frequency friends to feel seen. Otherwise, they just carry this deep isolation.
And we're the INFP, the mediator.
INFP. Their struggle is this huge gap between their romantic idealism, this worship of purity and meaning, and the reality of a world that often runs on money and practicality.
And that causes that classic pattern of like job hopping or escaping.
Exactly. They feel out of sync because the world seems to value the wrong things. And that idealism crash lands really hard in relationships too, especially with that T versus F dynamic we talked about.
Right. So you have, say, an F-type who's upset and just wants comfort.
And their T-type partner, maybe an ENTJ, comes in and starts trying to solve the problem logically. They want to help, but their default setting is analysis, not affirmation.
They're trying to fix it with a flow chart.
They are. They're turning a plea for comfort into a debate. And the advice in the book for T-types is so crucial here. Learn to just offer silence. Or, if you have to analyze, write it down for yourself separately. Don't overwhelm your loved one with logic when they need a hug.
And it goes the other way, too.
Right.
The F-types, like an ISFJ, they suffer when they're forced into conflict.
Oh, deeply. Being asked to take sides or deal with aggressive behavior is like torture for them because their core drive is group harmony.
So they get labeled as lacking backbone.
Unfairly, yes, when really they're just prioritizing what they value most. The book suggests their relief comes from leaning into that strength. Prioritize kindness and stop letting other people make you doubt that your efforts for harmony are valuable.
Understanding these differences is it's a game changer for extending grace.
Yeah.
To others and to yourself.
Absolutely.
Okay, so let's bring this all home. Let's wrap up with what you can actually apply right now. The book has these advancement strategies that are really focused on reducing that anxiety.
And the first one is maybe the most important. Focus inward to achieve stability. This is for anyone prone to external anxiety, the INFJ worrying about the future, the ISFJ worried about their environment.
You need an anchor.
They need an anchor. And the idea is to shift your focus from the external chaos you can't control to your internal stability, which you can. The book quotes Mencius, the concept of the unmoving heart.
The unmoving heart. So for an INFJ, that means realizing that the future isn't just some pattern that's going to happen to you.
It's determined by the choices and actions you take right now. You get to choose your response to the pattern. You're not a victim of it.
That's powerful. And what about for the types who feel stuck in, a meaningless job, the INFPs and INTPs?
The advice is so good here. It's find meaning in the mundane. Don't just quit. For the INFP, stop seeing your current job as this final judgment on your life's worth.
So instead of, I hate this job, it's
what is this teaching me about myself right now? Use the job you dislike as a mirror to get really clear on what you do want. Sometimes the greatest inspiration comes from the middle of the most boring tasks.
I love that. And for the INTP who hates feeling like they're just moving bricks.
The trick is to intellectualize it. Find the fun by observing the masters in that field. How do they do it? What's the underlying system? Analyze the process. Turn the boring task into an interesting problem to solve, and you reignite that intellectual spark.
And the final insight from the book is about grace and support.
Yes. For the T-types, the INTJs and INTPs, it's this plea to understand that most social conflicts aren't about malice. They're just about different cognitive wiring. People process the world differently. That's it. It's not a personal attack.
And for anyone who struggles with that chronic self-doubt, the INFJ, the INFP, the INTP,
You have to seek support. Actively find friends who validate your sincerity, who see your intelligence. You can't carry the weight of questioning your own worth all by yourself.
you need someone standing outside the mountain, as the book says. Someone who can see your virtues when you're too close to see them yourself.
It all comes down to that. And the book concludes with this beautiful idea that the path to freedom is truth and that ultimately love is truth.
Love is truth.
So if this has helped you understand yourself a little better, helped you maybe accept some of those unique, sometimes difficult parts of who you are, the real question is, what would it mean for you to finally stop fighting your own nature and just start living?